like cyber,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Okay, so I guess should we get started?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
So, John, thanks very much for joining us. I guess we've been talking with each other for a few months, and I know you've been really taking an interest in coin, and now we're really excited to be able to offer the Teleport token on QRYPTOS. It'll be the first global exchange where it's being listed. As we spoke earlier, everyone who signs into QRYPTOS will be able to see the TPT as one of their currencies, and we are actually right in the process now of creating the order books. So it'll be available for trading probably at some point during this interview. But
Fantastic.
Yeah, very excited, very excited. But John, I wanted to kind of share. The whole purpose of this is I wanted to share the story of Teleport token and really Neverdie Studios with the coin community, because this is really a very interesting technology and concept that you're introducing to the world. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk about yourself and a little bit about your background. First of all, it's the obvious question, but how did the nickname Neverdie come about?
Okay, well, it came about, obviously it goes back to the beginning of time, but in 1994, I was playing a MUD, a role-playing game, and it was the first time that I'd ever experienced playing with other people, and we were playing through a BBS system, and I was running up a very big phone bill to New York from Miami, and I was a starving screenwriter, filmmaker, and I kept thinking, God, I wish the gold that I was finding inside this game was real. I could pay my phone bill. And it was just pre-internet time, and I knew the internet was coming, and this was obviously, I was playing on a BBS. It was the modem dialing up, connecting, and I did a sort of a calculation of what would happen if every time that people died playing this MMO, this MUD, if they paid 25 cents to come back to life, and what if half of that went into the game to underwrite the value of the gold? And I did a calculation. I realized, holy shit, this would be $1 billion. This would amount to billions of dollars in virtual gold. And so, but the formula was based on dying. And so when I sold this game not long after. I actually partnered with the developer of the MUD, and I tried to turn it into a real cash economy, but we sold it in Hollywood without the real cash. It was too far ahead of its time, and as a game, it didn't interest me. I wanted it to be about real money, about people being able to accumulate gold. And so a few years later, after Ultima Online and EverQuest hit the market and people started to trade in virtual goods on eBay, and I was like, for me, that was just complete validation to the whole idea that it would be monetized. So then I decided, what I was going to do was write a movie about it. And so I created a story about the most famous gamer in the world, the guy that would find the millions in the games, and I called him Neverdie. Gotcha. Based on the whole concept of dying, underwriting the value of virtual currencies. So that's where it came from.
Gotcha. So I think you touched on a really interesting point there, and you mentioned this before, but talk to the people in the world that maybe are not gamers, but they kind of understand the idea that there's value created within the gaming worlds that people want to trade, and how it used to be done using sort of even things like eBay or maybe meetups, and how blockchain has enabled a more decentralized and sort of less friction in terms of exchanging virtual goods and creating a virtual economy.
What we saw right away with the MMOs, I mean, because the MMOs are the precursor to the blockchain and to what we're seeing today. So yes, of course, the trade in virtual goods was very robust. I mean, in the very beginnings, the auction systems inside the MMOs themselves were very primitive. And so that's why people went outside, especially when they wanted to attach real value and to trade on eBay. Of course, that was against the EULA of many of the games, and that led to an entire black market economy in virtual goods. But I think everybody that was, that was engaged in gaming during that period, really saw the strength of that economy. But really what happened during that period that was really interesting, and the MMO is an incredible genre, right? Fantastic. I mean, the people that have played MMOs have, life-changing memories, of these things that happened. But what happened was when World of Warcraft came out, then everybody was so heavily invested in that one MMO that despite the great ones that came after, nobody could really afford to divide their time between multiple avatars. Mm-hmm. And so what it did is it actually killed the genre right there, because we had some big flops after World of Warcraft, including Star Wars Galaxies and this and that. So basically, and then what happened is all the communities that did keep those worlds alive, they were trading virtual goods between themselves, but they couldn't get real value, because at the end of the day, it's like trading locally in your country.
Right.
And so there was no growth. So there's basically these pockets of loyal gamers in these worlds are basically stuck in stagnant economies.
Right.
And that will, at the end of the day, reduce the player base over time, because you can't afford to be in that environment. So this is where this incredible, and let's not forget, World of Warcraft was making about 100 to 200 million a month in subscription fees, and the black market in virtual goods trading in World of Warcraft was $500 million a month or whatever it was. And so, we're talking about billions of dollars, right? $1 billion economies that became stagnant over time. So that's the past. Now, I've been engaged in all of this since the beginning, and of course have been involved in some very landmark events with the price of virtual real estate. And also, of course, I was invested, so I was doing everything that I could during that period to bring it further into the mainstream. I did deals with Michael Jackson and Universal Studios, and I bought King Kong to, but these things are ultimately were not enough to save the genre. And so I was, back in 2015, decided that I needed to create a teleportation system between worlds. Mm-hmm. And that we had a good model for it in Entropia Universe, and I felt like we could take that model, we could sell an interest in the teleportation system, and then connect all of the worlds. The only problem is that the community in Entropia Universe didn't want to participate in this in a monetized teleportation system. They were so used to teleporting for free. Mm-hmm. My position on that is that because it would involve player-to-player transactions, manufacturing the teleport tokens, but it would just actually add another layer to the economy and actually create a more vibrant economy, not just another fee to play.
Right.
Basically, so hit a dead end, and then finally realized and heard about the Ethereum blockchain, and realized I could take my teleport token and teleport system and build it on this blockchain first, before, and then build it in a way that worlds could connect to the system, instead of trying to build the system in worlds, pre-existing worlds, where they were not willing to participate.
Right. So,
and the expression, build it and they will come.
Right.
Right?
So that's what you've done with the teleport. So I want to step back just a little bit for those who are not necessarily in the gaming world, to talk about the utility of the teleport token. You hit it on it, but I want you to explain a little bit about what this token does and how it is an attractive sort of store of value for the people in the online gaming worlds.
Right. Okay, well, first of all, inside games, you are constantly using items to trigger things, so to have a key that opens the door and then the key is consumed. So having a token to activate a teleporter is, that's a given. It's no different to a subway token. So there is your utility token, right? And if you think about teleportation, it is the public transport system of virtual reality. So or of gaming, of cyberspace. So it is very much akin to a subway token. And therefore, if you think about the amount of movement that occurs on any given day in all of the games that are played in the world, you can imagine this is an enormous consumption of tokens for teleportation.
Sure.
Which is currently not monetized and serving nobody, right?
Right.
So
So let's say if we were to put it into maybe like a Game of Thrones scenario. So you have the Dothraki army in one part of the Seven Kingdoms, and you need to move them to the other part. It's something, the teleport token is the sort of the mechanism by which you could move your army from one part of the gaming world to the other part of the gaming world. Is that a fair?
Yeah, or it really, for example, in a lot of MMOs, you're constantly hopping from town to town. You know what I mean? Or you're hopping from hunting ground to hunting ground. Right. No, there are vast spaces involved in virtual environments, and nobody really wants to get on a plane. Right. And drive that. People do drive, they do fly, but in reality, everybody wants to hop.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's more than your army, it's your rapid method of getting around.
And by enabling a monetization of the hopping and giving people the ability to move so quickly within the virtual reality and the online gaming worlds, doesn't, from the game maker perspective, make the user experience better, and it actually maybe increases the participation of the gamers because they know they don't have to wait to move their objects or move themselves from one part of the world to the other.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of worlds, teleportation actually does coexist with other means of transport. So, for example, in Rocktropia or an Entropia universe, you might have a teleportation chip in your head, that you can use for Mindful, so you can actually target where you want to teleport. But typically, there are teleporters that take you from A to B. But if you want to go and explore somewhere in between, you're either going to hop in your vehicle, you're going to run, you're going to fly, and that takes a lot longer just to move around, but you're going somewhere that's off the beaten track. Therefore, you're going to use a different form of transport. When people are really trying to be efficient with their time and get stuff done, teleportation is essential. I mean, it's, you know, people, I would, and you asked the question, where's the stored value, right? Well, we created 10 billion teleport tokens, and that might sound like a lot, right? You know, compared to 21 million, you know, Bitcoin, or 100 million Ethereum, but it's not when you think about how many teleports per day is everybody doing in online games.
Right.
And you would, I mean, there are 2 billion people playing games. You know, there are a couple of 100 million MMO players. So the consumption of teleport tokens is enormous.
Right.
And as this system develops, and then therefore the scarcity of the tokens is going to come into play.
Sure,
in which case, inside the games, instead of it taking 1 token, it's going to take a 10th of a token and then a 50th.
Okay, I see.
And there you go.
Gotcha. And where is the ecosystem in terms of acceptance of the TPT token to do transport of the objects within the virtual worlds?
Okay. The acceptance of it is something that's going to occur as developers realize they need new formulas to survive and to participate in the blockchain. So it very much is at this stage something that we're building because we understand that this will provide a solution. Bless you.
Excuse me, sorry.
Right? So it's a solution to a problem that we know is there.
Gotcha.
A lot of developers, you know, there's a huge. Everybody's excited about creating blockchain games, and a lot of money is being raised, and everybody is talking about exchanging virtual goods. But let me tell you about the limitation in that what people are thinking. They're basically thinking that they get items inside these games, and then they put them on an exchange, and they sell them to somebody else who wants to take that item back into that game that the other person got it from. That is very different to getting an item in a game and then exchanging it or taking it to another game. You know, it's very different to exporting raw materials from one country to be manufactured in another country. That's where there is massive economic growth. Mm-hmm. That is where we will have $1 trillion virtual goods economy on the blockchain. Mm-hmm. Yes, there will be a lot of trade in virtual goods, but that's just it's like scratching the surface of the potential. So the teleportation system has to be built. We've actually built it now. We have our first game that's coming out very soon. In the next three weeks, we'll start alpha testing on it. It's called Dragon King, and it's a complete blockchain game with a lot of various smart contract functionality. And one of the features inside the game is basically it's a game where you get to have a dragon, and you place the ETH value on the dragon that you have, and then you have to survive volcanic eruptions. And the dragons that don't survive, their ETH value is distributed among the dragons that do survive. So you could use Neverdie coins to protect you from the dragons, mm-hmm. from the volcano, mm-hmm. up to a certain point. But you can also, if you want to try to strategically undermine your competitors, you can send some knights out to the battlefield to attack other dragons. But in order to do it, you have to teleport them.
Gotcha.
right? So in a very simple blockchain game, we've introduced the concept of teleportation in a very easy way, and we've created the API for all of this. So this first game that we've created is very much a hello world type game that makes all of the APIs available for other developers to begin to utilize our tokens.
Right.
And that's where it will build from. So as developers, you start to see, well, we need to unite as developers with monetization systems because that makes us strong. It's like, for example, look, if there's 50 of us and we all make our own, blockchain game. This one's good and that one's okay and this one's this and that one's that. All right, pretty soon they're all dead, maybe one of them's still going, right? But if in those 50 little blockchain games you can mine teleport tokens here and you can get Neverdie here and you can get fragments that can be used to manufacture those tokens, even outside other ways that the developers create to monetize those games, the fact that raw materials exist inside these games that are important to the entire gaming ecosystem will keep those games alive.
Gotcha.
Because somebody's gonna say, oh, I'm really good at that, so I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna mine it, right? And so that's why all of our coins we reserve we pre-mined as Ethereum tokens, right? But then they're reserved for gamified mining, so that we can allow people to mine in these worlds.
So that's obviously another topic I wanted to go into was, so I'd say it sounds like the first use case that you see of the teleport token is in the virtual gaming worlds. Tell me what you see as a next progression of this concept of teleporting of virtual goods within virtual worlds.
Well, actually, the first game that we've made is actually a mobile browser type game. So in fact, that genre and market is humongous. And it was very easy for us to create the utility for the token by just saying, oh, you want to have a knight in the game, you teleport him in, right? So actually, it's very applicable to pretty much any game. You could find a kind of an analogy for transporting something, and then you could apply it to, let's say you're playing Farmville or something like that, and you wanted to buy some extra sheep. Well, how do you get them there? You teleport them. So just any time that there's movement in a game, you can say, well, okay, that's a teleport token, right? Gotcha. But it does go beyond there, because a lot of the VR and AR applications that are not necessarily gaming, they still involve teleportation or movement. And we've also included in our concept of teleportation not just movement within games, but actually movement from one game to another.
Right.
So basically, because the idea is that when you're in our universe, right? When you've been playing a game, you're still there. When you want to go and play the next one or download the next thing, and the beautiful thing is that this system brings value to the developers. So right now, there's a lot of incredible artistic virtual reality experiences that can be had, or AR experiences. They can't monetize at all. They're all screwed. I mean, they really are screwed because nobody wants to pay for anything. Now, by introducing gamified teleportation tokens, people are actually, suddenly they're like, oh, well, I don't mind using a couple of teleport tokens to be able to access this thing. Because You know why?
They can win.
Because they made some the last time they were playing this other game.
Right.
So they got some in their wallet. So now they're like, oh, cool. And we're then providing this service to
So
you know.
at core, what's happening here is Teleport Token is almost an expression, the way that the gamification is being expressed. It's being expressed via teleportation. So you're bringing the idea of gamification to the virtual reality worlds in order to pay for goods and services. Like you said, if people feel like they can go out and earn those tokens, they're more willing to pay for different services like teleportation in a virtual world rather than just, paying like a subscription fee, for example, right?
Absolutely. And that's really fundamental. That's why I feel that the blockchain is the next step from the internet. The internet is all consumer driven, right? Everybody builds their site and tries to sell you something. You never really go to a site and the site says, oh, you just visited this site, I'll give you some money for your time spent over there. It doesn't happen. And therefore it's not inclusive in that way. Mm-hmm. And we have to get away from that business model in general because the world's changing. I mean, AI it's gonna remove massive amounts of jobs, right? So people have to have another way to earn money. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that it does become a leisure economy. AI and robotics actually reduces the need for human labor. And at the same time, computers, we all love computers. They're highly entertaining. And, our power is getting cheaper. So we're able to just sort of do stuff, fun stuff. So if there's these wonderful systems, to monetize your engagement, then boom, you're not like suddenly broke because you're playing games. You're actually, and it's all about designing, gamifying virtual spaces.
Is your vision that even beyond just the game functionality of Teleport Token, there are other applications as we move to a more VR-based world, and a VR-based world using blockchain as its infrastructure, that there'll be further application for the consumption and use of Teleport tokens?
Well, the Teleport token, I mean, it's really not a game, it's public transport, it's movement. And the reality is that, you see, we have to create systems to monetize. It's a new universe we're building. It's a new frontier, cyberspace. And this world that we live in, everything is sort of monetized in effect because we can't do anything without being dependent on other people bringing something to the table. You know what I mean? Whether it's a car and all the different parts that go into making it, or the oil. It's the gamification of our world is all in there, pre-built.
Right.
So the thing is you can't then suddenly pioneer cyberspace and just go, well, you think yourself across cyberspace, because then there's no economic structure. You can't build a social structure. You can't, it's so, and a lot of people forget that. They don't even realize it because it's not, they haven't thought about it. I've thought about it because I loved playing games and I needed to make sure I made some money while I was doing it. Right. A long time ago.
Right.
And now 20 years of actually dealing with that I've been able to focus on these key points. So the Teleport token is the teleportation is the railroad. Now the railroad serves every facet of life in this on planet Earth. The railroad or the roads or the airways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the thing is and it can be utilized even in education. Like, for example, I'm I have relationships with various people in medicine, and they're doing a lot more of their training using AR and VR, and they just, of course, when they create the software, they create virtual scalpels and virtual this for training. Well, I don't want them to just magically have virtual scalpels. I want them to actually require the right metals to make those scalpels. Even that they don't need to in order to create the software, but if they do it, then they're contributing to this wonderful new universe that we're all sharing, which is cyberspace and the blockchain. And that scalpel could potentially pay for somebody in the Congo, right, who might otherwise be poaching or or harming the planet to scratch a living. Suddenly he can use his smartphone, because they've all got them, right, and play a role in the gathering of resources to make scalpels in medical software. And teleportation tokens fit into that. Nobody's going to loot teleportation tokens whole. They will always loot various fragments that then require trading and manufacturing to create a teleport token. Of course, the tokens exist, we've created them, and smart contracts will determine those fragments becoming a token. You know what I mean? So, but there really is a very big vision behind it, and a very altruistic vision. I mean, the reality is we want to make a better world, right? Yes. And gamification is very important,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the token mechanics, about the ICO, what you were doing with the funds raised during the ICO, and when can people start to see their first? You already touched on it about with the Dragon King release, but let's start with the ICO and where you are in the development plan.
Well, we finished our ICO at the end of end of July, and we started work right away on our wallet and on our first Hello World game, because the API is essential. So we are 6 months in, and we are basically they're both functional right now. We're going to do a hackathon for our wallet in about 3 weeks. And our wallet's very key. It's not the same as all the other wallets out there. It has some nice touches that we're very pleased with. But it's a gaming wallet. So it just makes it very easy for people to collect the right tokens that are related to their gameplay. Gotcha. And so it's a critical tool. I don't know to what extent you're a gamer, but typically when you log into a game, right, you find your UI. You have your inventory, your this and your that, right, your skills. So you have your personal thing. Well, our wallet is that, but free on the blockchain. It's so you will feel like you're sort of in your avatar, but now you're free to go now. So whereas, let's say, MetaMask is just your cash and your tokens, With the Neverdie wallet, you actually feel like, wow, I'm growing. My wallet reflects my gaming experience.
Right,
And it's
right.
not, it's decentralized because it's the tokens that I'm accumulating relating to my gameplay are not owned by anybody, right?
Gotcha.
So that's really critical. And the fact that we've got our first game with fantastic smart contracts and we've got all the API in place. I mean, this I'm really very pleased to have got to this point this soon. I don't think we've wasted any time or any resources. And my original vision here was that we might create within this time, the coming 12 months, maybe 4 or 5 more simple games that that add more APIs, so that then sort of development can become exponential for other developers. Everything is just turnkey for them, and so so that's what we've done so far.
And so we're really excited that I think actually, I'll have to double check with Mario back there. He's not at his desk, but I think we can actually ring the bell that Teleport will be available for trading.
Right.
As of today, and maybe actually in the next couple of minutes, if not already, it'll be available for exchange versus Ethereum, Bitcoin, and the coin token Cash. So we're really excited to have Teleport on the platform, and I think there's many different ways that we can continue to offer such innovative products and tokens that are really changing the world and disrupting all sorts of industries. So thanks very much, John. I think it was great to share the story of Teleport Token and the disruption that you're creating, and we will see how the token does later on today.
Yeah, well, we will be driving more and more people to the exchange, because gamers are going to be able to earn these tokens.
Yeah.
So they're going to earn them, and then they're going to want to be able to trade them.
Right.
So they'll be coming here, and so it's a really important part of building this infrastructure,
right,
that we have this first exchange. And it's at the right time. We have the game just about to come out, so everybody will understand it after that.
Yeah.
And so it's perfect. And when you think that it's almost 3 years since, or more, I lose track now, since coming up with the idea that teleportation could save virtual worlds and MMOs and create jobs, to then be at the day where we're actually listed on an exchange and people can trade in this very futuristic, utility. It's really, it's kind of a big deal. I mean, obviously one never knows where things go, right? But it's obviously conceivable that billions and billions and billions of teleport tokens would be used every day.
Absolutely.
Around cyberspace,
right.
And then you have to have these days like today where actually something that, it's a milestone.
Right.
So I'm very excited about it. I'm really glad to partner with QRYPTOS and Coin, and you guys have got a great team, so I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Thanks very much, Sean. Appreciate the time, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Seth.
Bye-bye.
Okay. We just got to figure out, how do you turn this off?
I think I got it.
See, you talk about teleportation, I can't even log out of a video chat.
Take care, bye.
Maybe I need to teleport out.
All right, me too.
Right?
I've got to teleport back to my desk.
Okay, all right, cheers, sir.
Bye. Whew. go. I'm not sure if the screen is up. I'm pretty sure it is. I stopped it. Alright.